All right. So assuming that here we are, we've managed to be able to understand a bit about entry and how we're going to refine that into that condition. Now we're going to ask our second question. All right. How do we know where the stock's going to go? I mean, okay, it looks like a good buy, but does it have any serious upside for me to be able to consider? And could that be the reason why I'm being pulled into this particular trade? So we have to make an assessment on how high this can go. Now, some of you might say, can't I just use the fair value of a stock for my target? Well, yes, but let's make sure you understand one thing. If it is technical analysis that pushes you into a trade, it should be technical analysis that gets you out of one. If it's fundamental analysis that gets you in a trade, then it should be the fundamental reason to get you out of one. So you can't just interplay things whenever you feel it to be convenient, because then you don't have a plan. You're just making things suit what you want to see. And that does not challenge you and does not work up the environment to which to be able to prepare yourself, because you need to have the stipulations up front to control any damage that may come out. At the same time, you can put whatever you have emotions in check. All right. Now, how do we make an assessment of where a stock can go to technically? So we got three ways of doing that. We can look at trend line projection, the high band of a channel or targeting next resistance, or you can also measure a height of an area pattern if you see one. Now let's try to make sure that we look into that type of condition. Okay, so let's have a look at this example. Okay, so here's Semirara. I took this off. This was sometime in 2017. Now, we want to be able to put these three assessments of targets into the condition, see how we can actually use them. Okay, what is trend line projection? Now, if you remember, a trend line is a line we draw by connecting as many of the lows that we see along a trend as possible. You can actually use your moving average to help, right? The ones that seem to be following your support. It could help you to make an assessment of whether that line should be drawn. And I'll just draw it for you. Okay, so for the meantime, but on the sense, you can see that the moving average is also serving as a good gauge for that supportive area. Now here's where the trend line is based on the lows to the next lows, and I've just extended it to the right side because I just wanted to see where the support levels will be. Now remember, when you draw a trend line, the area does not have to touch it absolutely to the last dot. Okay, it should just be as a general ballpark figure, including your moving average. It doesn't have to actually hit it exactly, but if you're talking about only a very minuscule price away, then that is acting as a support element. This cannot be too exact anyway. All right, now the point we have here is, I want to know how high this stock price can go to. And assuming I only have either a moving average or this trend line, which I've drawn in conjunction with that moving average, I want to be able to get a sense of how far should that particular stock price move. Okay, now have a look at this. We're currently standing at about 37.50. Now, if I buy this now, how much or how high will this stock price climb in, let's say, the short-term future? So let's try to count it. Let's say if we go all the way up here, where will prices be sometime in September? So all I do is I start with this trend line that I have, and I will now extend the trend line, and I will just draw it the same angle over time all the way roughly up here like so. And this gives me a projection of where the price should be in the minimum, assuming that this uptrend continues in the pace that it is climbing. So just by this alone, I can tell you that if I'm buying it here in May, then I'd forecast and I can try to say that over the next 4 months, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 months from now, this price should be closer to about 41.98 or closer to 42 pesos per share. So now you ask, okay, is it okay if I buy this on 37.50 to realize a gain of about 42 pesos in 4 months' time? And that's where you can make an assessment of what that is. Now remember, a trend line will give you the low end of the price because this is where major support is. It will not fall below this, assuming this trend continues. Now, as you can see, prices do jump up and down within this uptrend. And so this is your low band. And let's try to be able to estimate what the high band of that will be. How do we do that? We draw a price channel. So we do a price channel by first looking at this uptrend line that you have. We will copy the same angle that you have and push it up into the high bands of what you see up here, like so. And with that, remember, I'm copying this blue line here and I'm putting it right above where pretty much all the other highs are. Doesn't have to be exactly where it should be, but just in the ballpark area. And this gives me the high band of price. So if the lowest point for 4 months from today will be about 42, the highest price should be somewhere closer to 46 or 47 pesos. Again, let that now make an assessment in you and say, am I willing to buy this now at 37.50 with an upside of 42 to 47 in 4 months' time? And if that's viable enough for you, and you can take the trade and try to make that particular price projection make things work. So if you don't do something like this, how do you intend to understand what you're gunning for when you're buying a stock? If you're not using the fair value and you're using something on the technical aspect, you need to be able to get that sense of range. If I don't know where a stock is going to be, that means I'll be buying it and just be saying a prayer and hope that it goes up 10, 15, 20, or 50%. That's not viable. And that will not always happen, no matter how hard you pray. Right? So you have to make a good assessment of what the capability of the stock is, and you have it all there in the element of your trend. Third, the height of an area pattern. Now, sometimes you will get area patterns that build within this uptrend that you see. Let me show you one. So here's an example of a consolidation in price. This is known as an ascending triangle. You can see the tops are relatively flat, the bottoms seem to be escalating or climbing. So given this particular type of condition, what am I now looking for is a potential for prices to break out and go above. Because if it does, then this measuring size that I have over here, the size of the consolidation, will climb up by a minimum amount of that same size. And that can also make a good estimate of where prices can be into the short term. So if we see a breakout price, then you can say this should go up to about this price in the minimum, maybe even better. Okay, so the height of an area pattern can also give you a good estimate of that range. Now let's see if prices did actually reach it. All right, so look what happened. After this pullback in price, it found some degree of support near the trend line. It jumped up again. And if you look at the trend target we were looking at, it hit it almost smack to the target. And after it hit that, look what happened to the price. It started to be able to wind up all over again. It actually built a new area pattern. Another triangle was built. So we do the same thing all over again. So just in case prices break above this range here, we will look for a potential buy. Our upside will be a minimum of whatever the size of the area pattern was. So if this is the size of the pattern, then extend it from the breakout price and look at where the stock price happened to be able to hit as a potential target right before a new correction comes in. All right, and after that, in fact, another consolidation is actually being built here. So treat this like it were a staircase. As an uptrend moves on, you can actually estimate the highs. The high band did work well in this particular case. The estimate of the area pattern also suggested a potential price target for you. And if you want, did the stock price actually hit that 42 to 47? This actually hit 48. So if you looked at this, either one of the measuring formulas that we looked at here actually worked and should be able to cast you into a stock with that viability. And so this is how we come around to be able to make technical assertions of what target prices are, and that should prove to be helpful for you so you know what you're gunning for.